Could Smaug survive the How to Train Your Dragon universe? In this video, we'll be going over what would happen if Smaug was placed into the How to Train Your Dragon universe, and what dragons he could and couldn't be. Starting off, let's take a look at Smaug's feats and his size. Smaug is around 420 feet long, however he's fairly light for his size, only being around 60 tons. Although I'm not entirely sure how accurate that weight is, considering I couldn't really find anything talking about his weight. As for his feats and abilities, he's able to fly while covered in gold, even being able to smash through the front of the mountain, and of course, he breathes fire. Now for his first matchup, we're going to have him face the Screaming Death. For this fight, it's most likely that the Screaming Death will be the aggressor, flying straight towards Smaug and trying to bite him and burn him. Now, Smaug is very durable and can also breathe fire, and upon realizing that the Screaming Death will literally stop at nothing to attack him, Smaug will probably end up flying away. Not necessarily losing, but not winning either. Now, when it comes to giant dragons like the Bewilderbeast, the Red Death, and stuff like that, there's pretty much no chance Smaug could win. Let's take the Red Death for example here. Now, while the Red Death and Smaug may be somewhat comparable in length, when it comes to weight, that is not the case. The Red Death is significantly more bulky and packs a lot more firepower as it would appear compared to Smaug. Moving on from those giant dragons, let's talk about the fact that Smaug really likes gold. And a dragon that likes gold so much will likely end up invading Viking villages, and that'll likely end up getting the attention of a certain Night Fury. A fight between these two would be crazy, however, there is one thing we have to discuss about Toothless, his shot limit. Now, it is technically 6, however, there are several instances where he goes over this limit in a very short amount of time. So realistically, I don't think it's 6, however, he definitely has one since that's something literally every dragon has. Smaug, however, does not have a shot limit. Now, he can't just spam fire constantly, but he does not literally just stop making fire at a certain point in time, like Toothless. Toothless, however, also has this lightning ability where he can go invisible. Now, obviously, something like this will be extremely helpful against Smaug. However, Toothless does become quite tired afterwards, and it does seem that it needs to actually have a storm for him to be able to use this power. So in a fight between these two, it is very likely Smaug could just smite Toothless with his fire. However, it's also very likely that Toothless would just be able to outmaneuver Smaug and just dodge all of his attacks. So it's likely that Smaug would win, however it's also likely that Smaug would just leave as like he did with the Screaming Death. So, can Smaug survive the How to Train Your Dragon universe? Yes, and fairly easily. He's an incredibly smart dragon and knows how to not fight things that are significantly larger than it and die. He also speaks English, which will definitely help, as he could probably end up getting teamed up with some Vikings or something. So in the end, yes, Smaug can easily survive.